charm. I don't know, the internet might be broke today. There might be too many people trying to stream. So what the plan was today is to do a live brew stream. We're going to brew a Pilsner today, a low oxygen Pilsner. Pretty standard recipe, house recipe here. We can get into the recipe a little bit later, but we're just going to try and take you through a virtual brew day, low oxygen brew day on my system. So with that said, let's get started. First things first, we gotta do our recipe. Our recipe is formulated in Beersmith. For today, like I said, we are doing a Pilsner, and so what we want to do is formulate that recipe, like I said, which in this case is the Pilsner. So the recipe for today is RO water, Barca Pilsner malt, 18 pounds of that, or about 81%, 82% roughly, and then Weirmann Munich 1 malt, which is right around 18%. And so it's pretty much this take on our 80-20, the standard Bitburger kind of Pils recipe. You can see we have our water salts, Brutan B, PVPP, Werflock, all sorts of different stuff. Perla is going to be our hops today with a little dose of Hallertau Magnum at the beginning. I like to limit the hop matter in my kettle. I feel it makes a better beer. So I try and use some higher alpha hops and kind of lower the kettle vegetative matter. Otherwise, we're shooting for 1047, about 43 IBUs. It's a little different on my system, so you may have to tailor. The color of the beer is going to be right around 4 SRM, 3.9 SRM. The mash today is going to be using my standard mash, which is a dough in at 135. Get doughed in and then start ramping 144, 147, 152, 162, or 163, and 170. So, like I said, the recipe originates there in Beersmith. What I do then is I export this recipe as XML, export selected, and we're going to do XML right here. Click save, and then export. Yes. So I use another program called Node-RED. Node-RED takes that XML, all that data from the brew day, which of course we know it has all our data, all our water volumes, everything, right? Temperatures, water volumes, yeast, hops, timings, all that kind of stuff. And that exports that via XML. And when I click that save, Node-RED is the helper program, imports that right to the brewing system. And now when I go over to the brewing system, you can see all my settings for that day, including the name, are loaded. All my water salts, all my mash temperatures and times, hop temperatures, times, amounts, gravity, pre-boil gravity, IBUs, the yeast, all the water for the day, the grain weight, all that stuff is inputted. So the system now is intelligent enough to figure out all its volumes for the day. It knows everything it needs with no input from myself. And so once that recipe is in, then base here, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to start that brew day by enable brewing, brew start. You can see the system now says ready to brew, and we are just awaiting the brew commands. we're going to click brew start again, as it says. Kicks us over to the recipe page, and here's where we double, triple check all of our stuff. Our mash pH today, we're going to target about a 5.4, or try and target about a 5.4. So that's good. Our boil pH, which would be our 10-minute knockout pH, is 5.0. We're going to use yeast oxygen scavenging today, which is basically bread yeast and some sugar, and I'll talk about that later. We are going to be using some antioxidants today with a dose of 20 ppm. Normally I don't have, all my system is sealed, I purge with nitrogen, I don't have to do this, but every brew session I do is logged, and the more data I can get cumulatively for this stuff, the better for everybody. So that's why we're doing this, and I've been doing a series of yeast oxygen tests, scavenging tests, and antioxidant tests where I'm able to log all variables, including the fermentation of the beer. So that's kind of where this is all coming from. Like I said, we have our grain, hops, everything looks good. We'll be adding Brutan V to the boil at 7 minutes, a rock tablet at 5 minutes, and PVPP at 3 minutes. And we can definitely talk more about that as we go on. So once everything looks good here, we click the brewing parameters. That's going to kick us back over to the brewing screen and allow us to start. So up here you can see towards the center of the screen, I'm not sure if you can see my mouse or not, but it's asking us if we're ready. Yes, we are. We click continue. It's going to ask me some questions, so because I've maybe forgot these things in the past. False bottom in, yes it is. Water salts, Brutan B, antiox, yes, I have all those ready. Recheck again, yes. All right, so now we're gonna start purging lines. And what I'm going to do is actually minus this, and then I will show you exactly what's going on. So what we have going on right now is we have a purge going on, and let's see if I can properly do this so everyone can see. So we have a purge going on right now. And what we have going on is it's the HLT line purge. So there's a stone right here, and right now it is purging the underlet right there. It's coming up through the kettle and going here. There's the vacuum is on the kettle. So what's really happening is it's coming back down. I'm sorry, it's going out. So when that's done, all right, that's been cleared. Now what we're doing is we are purging the from the hot liquor tank still, and we're purging the liquor out and the sparge, because we're going to be sparging today. So we are purging this sparging to the tubing for the sparge, so we can have a low oxygen environment there. Again, the PRV for the top of the kettle is on. The purge pump, the vac pump right here. So we're pulling a vacuum as we are purging through. So that's what's going on there. And that's, I do about a 30-second purge on these lines. They're 1/2-inch stainless lines, so a 30-second purge is more than enough. So now that that's complete, you can see also up here, the system is telling us what it's doing. So right now we're prepping for a fill. So right now you should see the the hot liquor tank getting filled with water. And now we are going over, and I'm going to add my grain to the grain mill. So I will step away, but we're going to add our grain. Here's our grain amount, and then we will start milling right into the kettle. So I will be right back once I get that loaded and started, and we'll go from there. All right, so the grain has been added. You can see up here, grain added. And right now we're purging the boil kettle lines. What does purging boil kettle lines mean? Well, what we're doing is we are coming out the bottom of the mash tun and we are purging our underlet into the boil kettle. So that's going on. So we're gonna do that. And then what's gonna happen is, since all the grain is in the tun now, it's gonna start its own purge cycles as well. So we can note that in a second. So that happened. So now we are gonna start purge cycles to lower the oxygen in the mash tun. And I just need to do something here quick. So, let me get back to my little drawer deal. All right, so what's gonna happen is we are doing quite a few things simultaneously. So number one, we're recirculating in the hot liquor tank. We've added yeast. And so what we're doing is we're coming the hot liquor tank, going through the heat exchanger, which we're not using in this case, and then back through. The volume of the hot liquor tank is right here. It's right around 20 gallons. And the DO right now of the liquor is 3.10. All right, so that's going on, right? Then we also have the mash tun here purging. So right now we're on a vacuum cycle. You can see we have we're purging the herms right now. So what's going on is we just purged all the herms, piping and all that, and so we are gonna start to purge. We're gonna start to purge the actual mash tun here. So let's see what's going on with that. Looks like we are waiting. We got our pressure up. Let's see here. I got all these small screens, so it's kind of hard for me to see what's exactly going on. So that should be on a purge cycle. You can see there's an overpressure in the mash tun. Let me go back here. Let me see here. What do we got going on? So we are monitoring DO in both vessels. Let me just see where we're at in this script. You can see that due to the, I need to be on the interact screen. One sec here. Let's see where are we at. So we're waiting for the DO in the hot liquor tank. Let's make sure our mash purge is started. Purge MT is running. It looks like that's working. I'm just verifying here.